Hey, what's up? Sunday, I think it's about July 6th. So, yeah, been kind of a long weekend, had a little break for everybody. And here in the shop, just getting stuff ready for the week to come. And it's been a while since I've done one of these walkthroughs. On June 1st, we hit our 5-year birthday. So that's kind of a big deal for us. This month has been probably the hardest working month I've personally had in business. The team has put a lot in as well. We've added machines, we've added some people. We're growing to be a better business. We're a little bit bigger, obviously, as well. But more importantly, I think we're better. So I want to do a quick little walkthrough, show you guys what we've been working on, and maybe get some feedback. If you guys see something that, hey, you got a better way to do it, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about it. All right, so as per usual, anybody who's been here knows we run a real tight ship. Everything stays nice and organized. Everything's got a home. So we've gotten better with that. More dedicated areas for where things, the status. So we want the space to let everybody know what needs to happen next to that piece. Dog's here helping me today, keeping that material from blowing away. Press brake area. We do a ton of work over here. We do a lot of complex forming. So again, we're continuing to add to the simplicity of this operation. It can be very complex, but we try to simplify it down. We use a lot of color-coded stuff for tooling. So is there programming that makes it real easy? So there's colors there. And then over here on the tooling's all color-coded just to make things easier bit by bit. Over on the material rack, everybody that comes here always wants to know, what do we keep in stock? And we don't really keep any material in stock. Everything comes just in time for the project that we're going to use. But these are all remnants that we keep track of by just using these like fake whiteboards. We take laminated card and we just write what's on there. So if we do need a drop for some job, you just look right up there, grab it. We sort it by type. So we've got labels over here designating what it's for. So that just is a real simple, easy way for us to keep track of remnants. And then we also have smaller remnants that we keep track of over here. And everything maintains traceability. So those all get a tag on them. I'll show you one of those tags here right now. So it'll say what it is, what job it's for, where do we get it from. So you could scan that code and get the MTRs and everything, material test reports for that. So we added this laser this year, and we're just continuing to add little improvements bit by bit to this to get it up and running better and better. We're always looking for efficiency gains. So we're still making, we're in the middle now of making some tooling racks. Now that we got where we use the tools for the laser, mostly for getting parts out and deburred. We're making some racks for that stuff. Just little kind of improvements to make life simpler over here and maximize the efficiency. We got a little workstation over here for the laser. That way they can program right next to the machine controller. And then we do stuff like this, where in this drawer, we have all of our consumables. So we have like maximum stock would be 6 of something, 2 would be minimum. We go below that, you would pull this card out, and on the back of that, there's a QR code to scan for the to get those ordered. So you can see here's one that's out for order. There's another one that's out for order, but we still have plenty of stock remaining. And this is done to minimize the amount of inventory we have in consumables, but have a way that we can get those here very quickly so that we never run out of that stuff. And then we're making these videos, little how-to instructional videos. So if it's the non-operator, the non-normal operator, you can still watch those videos and figure out how to do it. Another cool little thing we've done is we've added these maintenance cards that we put on all the different machines. And it's just a Velcroed magic marker here. So if there's any issue that's like, hey, this isn't a showstopper, we can keep running, just mark it there, because we do maintenance at least once a week on these machines. So we can take care of it during maintenance time, or maybe it's something that can wait till we even have the service guy come in. So next to our laser, we have our deburring system, center. So that way we can take parts right off the laser, don't set them on anything, deburr them right here if need be. We made this cart over a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, it's been a while. And I wasn't sure how it's gonna work because we had all these cords, and it's worked excellent with a few little tweaks we've added to it. So we've added a few little things, but everything's color coded. So we have like the blue hose goes to the blue tool, to the red to red, yellow to yellow, and so on. We've added a couple little things like the hammer we added over here for knocking slugs out of parts. We just put this piece of cardboard here to keep parts from sliding around, prevent scratching. So we just switch that out every once in a while. We use soap. Some people use wax. We use soap for just putting in the discs so that when we're deburring aluminum or de-sanding aluminum, we don't, the discs don't get clogged up. Overall, this thing's worked really well. A couple improvements that we've added recently was on the back. We added a filter regulator and oiler system. And so what was happening is if you look at these tools, we, instead of putting quick disconnects on these things, we made it so you can't take it, because what would happen is inevitably someone on the other side of the shop's gonna need to borrow this 90-degree sander real quick. They'll come grab it and it'll just never make its way back. It's just adding, some friction. So we just make it so you can't steal it. And then we take this a step further. So we add the oiler so that we're making sure to get these tools oiled. So we have the oiler right here, but then, okay, now we have the oil right there so that you can add that in the morning. And then in order to do that, you need this Allen wrench to pop the top off of the oiler. So we have the tools, the consumable, right where you're gonna need them in a real easy to use fashion. So overall, this deburr cart has worked excellent for us. It's based off of our standard carts that we use for all sorts of things. It's got a floor lock, it's got a home on the floor, so we can just move it, clean it out in the morning, get everything nice and tidy, put it back right where it goes. So overall, we've been super stoked with this. So this rack here we use for material that's not quite ready for fabrication. So this means it might be laser cut stuff that's awaiting hardware, laser cut awaiting forming, or maybe it's all formed and has hardware. We're waiting for some bought out material or part. So before it's ready to go over to welding, we need to complete the kit so it's ready to go over there. We made these ourselves to make them so that they're modular, so we can adjust the brackets up and down as need be if we have bigger parts. We also made them so you can only fit a pallet. We make them small on purpose because excess inventory is a type of waste that we're always trying to cut down on. You can see we use these little laminated cards again to make it a little easier sometimes for keeping track of stuff. We also have cones. And then we'll put the status of that. So that's obviously a hold cone, and it's got some notes about what's making that particular project on hold. So once parts get completed here, they're ready to go to welding. They'll go over to a similar rack over in welding, so that that way where the part is located notifies everybody the current status of it. And then down to little stuff like this is mostly going to be the first place we start with a pallet, as things mostly route through the shop on a pallet. So we put the pallet liners here so that when a pallet comes in, the liner goes there, and then most likely it's going to go in this rack. Ideally, it never goes on a rack. The pallet just starts working its way through the shop. And then the rest of this area is staging. So these are projects that are either too big for racks, or we've got, it's on some hold, or we're waiting for parts to come in. So this is like our internal buffer area. So when stuff gets in here, we try to get it out as quick as we can, but sometimes projects, get put on hold, or we have too much inventory. Something like that happens where we just need to stage it. But we want to minimize the space because problems expand to fill the void you allow. So we just don't allow a lot of space for that. All right, this project here is kind of a fun one. I can't show a whole lot of it, but we'll give you a little sneak peek in there. Ooh, styrofoam, neat. But there is a engine block in there. We can leave it at that. So there's a giant engine block for a big engine. You can see about how size the block is. So big, heavy engine block. And we're in the middle right now of designing a system for a major engine manufacturer to pick that block up and rotate it basically upside down so that certain things can be added to this block, and then it picks it back up and puts it back right side up. So right now I can really only show you this plywood box, but I can show you some of the design stuff here in a bit, and that's a cool project that we're working on. Pretty stoked to be a part of that one. So walking more through the shop, you can see we have designated area for stuff going out to shipment. These pallets are tagged, ready to go to shipment, are ready to go out. We've got we have this very simple system that we use for keeping track of the job number. Then we have part number, how many we made versus how many we need. So anybody that walks up to that knows exactly what's going on, so the guy in charge of shipping can see it, check those parts in going out the door in our ERP system with the least amount of friction. And then over here during assembly and inspection, so we've got some parts that we're about to assemble there. That's a bunch of 80/20 components. And then this one's actually shipping out, so can't show a whole lot of that one, but that's for defense customer. So that should be leaving pretty soon. It is not fragile. I can explain that. I don't know I can't explain why we had to put fragile on the box. I guess that's just in case, but definitely not a fragile part. Over here, so these are these things that we're always looking for continuous improvement. We want things to be easy for everybody. So we're putting labels on the outside of the box so that you don't even have to open it to see what's in it. And then if you look in here, we basically have like anything for the hand drills, anything for mag drills, anything for riveting. So that way we just sort out what we don't need, have just what we need. The front of the box is labeled. So we want it so that, you know, if a 6th grader came in here and work, they could find that stuff. And if you're a 25-year veteran, even better. It's gonna make it that much easier for yourself. So the two toolboxes we have, mostly the one on the left is hardware. The one on the right is your standard assembly tools, stuff like that. So if we keep walking through the shop, we have kind of our inspection area, our inspection tools. We do our morning meetings over here as well. So we've got the board right here where we kind of go over the morning meeting. We've got our screen that we use for PowerPoint type presentations for our morning meeting, inspection plate. And then over here, we've recently added this. We're always doing improvements. So we have all the things that we need for making improvements to our workspace in a standardized location. So that's kind of a cool new one that we've added. All right, so here's one of, I think, about 4 weld cells that we have. So all of our weld cells should have a MIG and a TIG machine at them. This one also has all of our stainless consumables, but got our tungsten sharpener over here. We're always looking for ways to make this simpler and better. So we'll go over this probably in another video at some point, but we use a Kanban system for all of our consumables. So all of the wires have a card associated with them. So when inventory hits a minimum, we have a quick way to get those ordered. Everything you need to go to work right here, regardless of weld process, is located here. And then our shadow boards are standardized. So you can see we have grinders, squares, levels, clamps, hammers, and kind of all the basic stuff that you need or that you ever would need within arm's reach. And we also make it real easy to put it back in process. You know, so instead of cluttering your workspace, you just hang it right back where it goes. We also got air and electric power at each station. And little niceties are like, we even got a little trash bucket there that hangs off the floor so you can still blow your dust out of the way or sweep underneath it, but you always have it in an easy spot. So again, here's another welding station. This one has a fixture table. So we have MIG and TIG machines. All the workstations also have iPad stands of some variety. And again, here's a standardized shadow board. Someone put the square in the wrong spot. As you can tell, that's not the way that goes. But it's obvious because the way we have our system kind of stands out like a sore thumb. My kid's out of town, so I stole his RC car to play with it yesterday. So the type of work, here's some parts, some stainless components for a giant metal 3D printer that we're working on. We use these status cones over here. So these work fairly well so that we have a cone you can set on your parts that's telling us, hey, you know, this is ready to inspect, or don't do anything, or these parts are no fucking good, or proceed, or ship. So it's just it's a good little system we've come up with that just real easy, drop it on there. And then the hold and NFG ones have little sleeves so you can take a card that we fill out kind of the issue so anybody that walks up should know what's going on. Over here we got our robotic work cell, our cobot work cell. So we really kind of tucked this thing into a corner, and we're just constantly making small improvements to this thing. So we have kind of the one it's feeding off of, the one that as soon as that one goes empty, we can switch over, that's the wire. We have all the tools that we need. We try to minimize the amount of tools that we need over here. This is about as dirty as it should get over here. And then they're working on coming up with some standard maintenance and inspection points on things. So that's what the cardboard is. We just start with the basics. And yeah, we're just constantly improving this area over here, but it's getting better and better every day. All of our consumables are down inside this box. So if you open that up, it's got everything we need, plus the Kanban cards to order consumables when they hit that minimum level. And then we're trying to minimize inventory for this stuff. So we do have these parts in queue. We're trying to change this system because I don't like having this much inventory. It's just occupying space that could be used for something more valuable. So over here, this is our cutting area. So the big bandsaw, that actually has a roller feed table that goes outside, and there's another stand out there so we could load big pieces, cut them in here, no problem. And then on the left side here, we've got the cold saw. It's got a tiger stop on it, so you can just program your numbers in of what you need to cut. And it's just little stuff like we have over here. We got the blades. It's a little hard to see here, but we got sharp and dull. So there's just racks. If the blade's sharp, it goes here, and sharp. If it's dull, it goes over there. And then there's a little chart here that tells you, what size, what tooth you use for what material. And then just little stuff of, we've made these drain pans so that it creates less of a mess. The key for the saw to change a blade is right here. So we're just trying to make it bit by bit easier and easier. Here's one of our weld stations. This one we're still building out, but this one we just have the welder on the table right now. We're making some new shadow boards that can kind of tuck underneath there. And then over here we have our gas for the robot. So we have kind of the primary and the backup, so that when the primary is empty, they just jump the hose over to the backup, so we're never down. And then in between operations, they can move that tank out of the way. And again, you can see over here, there's some maintenance issues that don't need to, it's not a showstopper, but it tells us, hey, we got to fix the coolant switches here. So it's just letting everybody know. And then an example of us always trying to make everything better and better. So like here we have the instructions of how to change the blade, the blades that you would change to, all the tools that you could possibly need. And then right here, there's even a video on a QR code of how to change that blade. So constantly trying to make shop easier and easier to work at. You didn't have to work here 20 years to figure stuff out. So here's an example of a project that it's on hold, so there might be a question being asked. We just got to make one of those. It looks like, so there's maybe it's just hold because it's needs an answer on something. We got this other workstation over here. Again, we got MIG and TIG machines, and then this area is where we have the racks for parts that are ready to go, are ready for welding. So they can, if it's on that rack, it means it's ready to go. If you got open spaces over here, it means, hey, we can start working on this stuff. Let's start bringing more material over here. So over here we have laser engravers. So if we have to engrave part numbers or on anything, you can walk over here and engrave it. And then on these machines, we have like instructional videos of how to do it. Our fab tooling. And then over here, we got rigging and kind of our welding and grinding consumables. And here we keep our PPE and cleaning supplies. Over there, and then over here, we've got this is all of our grinding and welding consumables. So again, everything's on Kanban. So for instance, if we, once we pull that wire there, we'll pull the Kanban here. So we'll have all the grinding, consumables, everything from, nozzle dip, deburr, these are little deburr scrapers here. So they got this little home. You pull them out of there when they get low. We just pull the card and order more. So over here we got a backup weld machine just in case we need an extra one. We've got our plasma torch for when gets used maybe a couple times a year, but when you need it, you need it. So we got that there. This is our tapping cart, so we're in the middle of fixing the auto lube system on it, so that's why that's out right now. But we've made some pretty cool changes over here recently. So if I look over here, we kind of have our like inch series taps, metric taps, and if I come over here, see how it's in a red bin, and I know which collet to use because it's the red collet. So it's just those simple things where everything's visible, and we have a system that simplifies down. I mean, we're trying to save seconds when we come over here. So you should be able to plug it in, have everything you need within arm's reach, and just removing that friction and making it easier and easier. And over on this side, we've got all of our grinders. So kind of all the types of grinders that we could possibly need. And again, the consumables are right where you would need them. So this one obviously is for the Radius Master, so on, disc grinder, the Burger King. So the consumable is right where you would use it. And the Kanban cards for each of those are right there as well. So now if we come over to the machine shop, turn the lights on here. So machine shop is growing. We got another VF4 SS on the way. Should be here in a couple weeks. We try to standardize these work centers as much as we can. Got some cool stuff from Pearson, setting up some plates for some production runs of things. So we got about, I don't know, 8 times more of this to do. So we're trying to simplify that system down. Dog's over here helping out. Brought his piece of pipe that he likes to chew on. So again, standardizing these work centers where we've got standard tools, you know, down to where does the pin go? You know, we have homes for all this stuff. Again, maintenance issues that are not showstoppers. They're just, hey, next time on Monday when we do maintenance, let's take care of them. You know, deburring stone, deburring scrapers, the standard tools, even a piece of Scotch-Brite, the screw gun, where do the vices go? These are all standardized on our workstations so that no matter which one you're working at, you can just kind of grab it and go. You know, you don't have to spend your energy looking around for stuff. So then we also have a colored system so that depending on the color bin, it says what the status is. So we have, for instance, the clear bins is now it's clear to leave the building. So this one, it does have to go to outside service, so they can pull this card out when they get to shipping, and it tells them everything they need to know about that part that's in there. So that's already been checked off and everything in the system. Blue bins mean they're complete and inspected, but they have something else that we need to do in the building. When possible, we try to package right off the machine. So right over here, we're literally going from raw stock. This machine is going through 3 ops, so we're at the very end of this now. And it's basically come out, clean, deburr, inspect, package, put in a box. So all within arm's reach, we're doing all of that. Again, all of our standardized tool storage. We make all this stuff. We buy, you know, buy the Hoyt boxes, but the rest of these toolboxes down here, we build all this. Workstations for programming. Up there on the board is our machine priority list. I can't really show that too close because the customer names are on there, but the colors designate kind of the status, and then the hierarchy is from top to bottom. And then here you can see kind of what the colors mean. So anybody that walks up should be able to see what, you know, what the status of what's going on in those bins is. So just kind of, even though people work here every day, you might have someone helping, you might have a new person. So it tells you what it all means. And over here we do our incoming material comes in over here, so we can load from outside on these racks. So that way material kind of comes in over here and leaves behind me, and just bit by bit making improvements to our workstation. So again, we make all these toolboxes, and then, you know, they should be getting better and better all the time. So if I open any of these up, you know, again, we have what we need, where we need it, easy to find. Easy to know what's going on. And we got one more machine kind of fit in here somehow before we take over next door. And over here, it's those simple things. So it's like, here's all of our cleaning stuff in one central location. You know, when I see stuff getting hung up on over here, that's kind of a sign to me like, oh, okay, they're finding a better way to do it. Let's see if we can't help, you know, maybe make a rack or make a more better location for that sort of stuff. And then we got the little scooper there. It's on the ground, so maybe that needs a home. So to me, it's a lot of those little things that makes a business function efficiently. All right, so that's kind of a quick tour of the shop. So I hope that we can get some feedback from you guys. We work hard on coming up with these little improvements, but one of the best ways I've found to come up with improvements is looking around at other shops and seeing what they do and getting feedback and ideas from other people. So I'd love to hear if you guys have something to how we can make this better. Hit me up, leave a comment, send me an email. See ya.